park, we have the Buddha Tooth Relic Temple and the Methodist Church right at the junction of this road. So can you see how these places of worship are within close proximity, and we have respect for each and every religion.
Dan blanket, blanket. Blanket, blanket. Oh, wow.
Dapat dua. other 11 give something from nothing. Life lessons come one in a dozen. The other 11 give something from nothing. Life changes just open the door. One thing's certain, I'll always be yours. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true.
Now
Terima kasih. Anda berada di kawasan dilarang parkir.